But if you hear me correctly, okay, for our section B in the exam, we need to do 3 out of 6 questions, right? And copy down if you want to. If not, just I'll flag this again. We're done tutorial 1 to 3. And you can see in tutorial 1 to 3, I will painstakingly go through all the section A and B questions because those questions tend to come out in the exam, which is tutorial 1, consumption investment, tutorial 2, Solo's model, tutorial 3, ISLM, closed economy. So I have actually prepared you sufficient topics for section B. But doing 3 out of 6 and preparing 3 topics alone is a bit risky. What happens if consumption investment was difficult? Or what happens closed economy was the multiplier that you can't do? Then it's better to prepare 2 additional topics. And one of them is what you're going to go through in a moment. ISLM, open economy. But because it's an optional topic, all these topics you want to score between 16 to 18 marks because you are very well prepared for them. Right? But if the question turns out to be difficult and you want to do your optional topic, you only want to score between 13 to 15 marks instead. Because you are not fully well versed. You know you can't prepare all topics in the exam. It's impossible. Macro is a subject that you cannot be good in everything because macro has a whole range of skills. Right? So some of us are just not good, for example, in ISLM. It's natural. Then you could have to tell yourself you have to readjust your time. So for optional topic, your maximum score, you have to bring it down a bit. Also because these are optional topics to prepare because they are very difficult in the exam. They are very time consuming, okay, and it's very hard to score. Okay? Examiner requires very strong analysis skills. So in other words, when I teach you topic 6 part 2, I will just teach you the skills and I will not overdrive it because nobody can anticipate how the question will look like. And worse still is, this is the topic, every part you need to draw and it is heavily taxing on students. Unlike topic 2 and 3, I've shown you, part of the question is calculation. So that will relieve you a bit. But topic 6, every single part you got to draw. So if possible, you should not do it in the exam unless your pet topic became difficult. So you must hear me clearly. I didn't ask you to drop this. I just asked you to play down the importance of this topic in the exam for section B. Okay? And this discussion itself has 3 areas of focus. The first area is to actually discuss fiscal and monetary policy. Okay? Primarily under F is infinite, means discussing horizontal BP. Okay? With fixed and flexible exchange rate. Then this first area of focus was actually a repetition of intro to econ. So examiner used to test, but examiner plays down the importance because it's a repetition. So it is an area of focus, but it is no longer the main focus. Right? And the second area of focus is to repeat everything, but now under F being positive. It means instead of discussing horizontal BP, we want to discuss upward sloping BP. Okay, and then we want to evaluate under fixed and flexible exchange rate. ER stands for exchange rate. So this second area of focus will become more difficult because you know when you have upward sloping BP, the adjustment process is tougher. Right? Not like horizontal, just go back original interest rate. Upward sloping BP, you need to watch the BP account. And under upward sloping, there would be flatter and that would be steeper. Focus on flatter BP. Okay, I will show you the steeper BP for concept purpose, but you are barely tested, and the model sometimes don't work at all. Okay, right? So that was the second area of focus. Okay, but recent exam paper nowadays go beyond theories. He wants to actually do real-world application. Primarily discuss shift of BP. Right? Okay, and the real-world application scenario will include, right, world inflation, world recession, okay, exchange rate crisis, okay, and once in a while they will discuss protectionism and then trade restrictions. Okay, and out of these four, the first two would be more important. So the syllabus have changed, right? That the examiner no longer just want to test you area 1 and 2, which is something that students thought they can memorize every year. Just memorize how to shift the curve, get the answer. But nowadays, no. Right? To make the macro concept or the macro module more relevant, he wants to look at real world. In the real world, there's inflation. Our trading partner has inflation. You want to apply the open economy to understand the impact on your country. Or we can see world recession, which is ongoing since 2009. Again, we want to use the three curves to analyze how would we benefit or suffer from it. Okay, exchange rate crisis. There's a tendency countries like to weaken their currency, like China. Again, we want to use the model to see the repercussion. Or finally, trade restrictions. Countries, right, wants to block trade with each other. Right? So in this case, when you go through topic 6, part 2, okay, don't be too happy if you can do focus 1. Because this is a repetition of year 1 economics. So you will find it quite a breeze. Then I should say, focus on area 2, flasher BP, and the real world application. So the entire discussion for almost 30 pages are all diagrams, right? And they can come out in 3 parts. Every part, imagine the examiner can have part A, focus 1, part 2, focus 2, part 3, focus 3. It is only 20 marks, so it's very demanding. Okay, so before we start now, let's look at some key pointers. Turn to page 1, highlighting to you. Right, so this topic is primarily analysis, but on top, evaluation. Evaluation means compare. Equilibrium points. So it's a very demanding topic. After you get your equilibrium point, you don't say equilibrium is point F. You compare between closed and open economy. You compare between exchange rate. So you must know the demands of the examiner. It's not about the diagram. It's about the behavior and the answer. Okay? So focus very much is on the BP and the final equilibrium. So when we shift ISLM, we do not emphasize too much on the goods and money market adjustment. In topic 5, we are very particular. We say A bar change, goods market, multiplier, money demand, interest rates. We go through that motion. But for topic 6, Mundell-Fleming, we don't at all. We just shift the curve and get equilibrium. So take note of that. But to do well for this topic, you must be proficient in topic 6, part 1. Alright, exchange rate system, the BP account, the BP curve. Okay? Now, some of you, as we move along, you will see it will reinforce your learning. Okay? Alright, so you need lots of practice. In the lecture notes, we tend to discuss expansionary policy because it's common. Most countries are using expansionary policy. Okay? But on your own, you should practice contractionary policy. Okay? So with that, let's start with the first set. Okay? Now, this is a general technique. And I always tell students, every time when I do analysis, you got lost. Okay? You always wonder how come you have a missing step. Come back to this flow diagram. It will guide you. Okay, now the first step is always shift ISLM. Okay, because in this case you are using fiscal or monetary policy, shift ISLM, get a new point. At the new point, this is your step 2, analyze your BP account. Okay, so without fail, students must do the first 2 steps. And these first 2 steps usually only earn you 1 mark. So don't be too happy. It doesn't actually give you the application of the model yet. It just tells you where is the size of the BP in your new internal equilibrium. Okay? Then exam question will usually ask you to do fixed and flexible exchange rate. So this entire thing is 7 marks. Huh? It's not 7 marks each. It's the whole thing is 7 marks only. Okay? So if after you found out your exchange rate, so for example, if your BP is a surplus, generally your currency will strengthen. Or if your BP is your deficit, your currency will weaken in real and nominal terms. So you find your BP, and then you analyze your exchange rate. It can go up and down. Right? And I mentioned, in year 2, year 3, we cannot teach you how to read exchange rate already. You have to push yourself to grasp it. But anytime when money flows in, your currency should be strong. Money flows out, currency should be weak. Okay? So we're going to analyze today fixed and flexible. Okay? So there's a typo here, so change this to flexible. Always attempt to do fixed exchange rate first. It's easier. Don't go and try your luck to do flexible. Alright? So under fixed exchange rate, government will buy or sell the currency. If your currency is too strong, government will sell it away. If our currency is too weak, government will buy. And that will affect money supply because you will buy or sell with the money changer or the banks. That affects the amount of money in the economy. And that therefore will shift the LM. Looking at where is your BP corrected, you will reach a new equilibrium. Okay, so that was fixed exchange rate. It looks a bit intimidating in this step, buy or sell. Trust me, the third analysis you do with me, you will get it already. Okay, but flexible exchange rate is the one that examiner likes to test. Okay, when you have upward sloping BP, flexible exchange rate will shift IS, and you also saw last week, it will shift BP. So this will be much tougher, right? And shifting the two of them, looking at the BP size, you'll get equilibrium. Okay, so this is an overview. So make sure every time when I go through all the analysis and you got lost, alright, go back to this page and check at which stage were you lost. Right? So prepare it as a spare topic, but don't drop it. Sometimes the question may be one that you never know you can score 18 because the question was much easier. Okay, so these are the general technique. So let's start with the first set, page 3.